Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And in AI news, we are talking about AI because, quite frankly, it's sanitizing the horrors of war. Now, what got me thinking about this was a really interesting article out of ABC Australia by Danielle Maguire. And I think this is an important one because if you didn't know, on social media, there is an illustration of what looks like tents spelling out the words, "All eyes on Rafah." And this is mixed among row after row of makeshift shelters. It looks like a refugee camp. And obviously, the humanitarian crisis in Rafah is essentially what this is in line with. Now, as of today, Friday, May 31st, it's been shared around 50 million times. Now, experts are saying, and this has all the hallmarks of an AI generated image. And because it's being shared so widely across social media platforms, it's obviously concerning to researchers. Now, the phrase "all eyes on Rafah" is a slogan that is being used by a multitude of people in groups. Some of these are groups like Save the Children. Some of these are campaigners, obviously pro-Palestinian campaigners, etc., etc. Some are just everyday people. Now, this is basically being used to show solidarity with the Palestinians that are obviously affected and displaced in the current war in Gaza, and also raise awareness about the humanitarian crisis that is happening in Rafah right now. And I'm just going to say this, as I say in most of my videos when I touch on subjects like this: I do not care what you believe. I do not care what side of the war you are on. This is simply what's happening. And nobody's going to dispute that at the moment, we actually have a humanitarian crisis in Rafah, food shortages, etc., etc. And so the question basically is, do AI generated images sanitize the horrors of war? And I think yes, because there's a risk that artificial intelligence images could sanitize the situation in some way, basically warping your understanding of what's happening in Rafah. If the AI image makes it look cleaner or dirtier, better or worse, those kinds of things, it's not accurate as it would be simply taking a photo. And people that see that obviously would understand, well, okay, this is, obviously not Rafah itself, because they're not going to spell out "all eyes on Rafah" on the actual ground. Some might, but most won't. That said, the conditions in the picture can set a tone that may not necessarily be accurate. And so it raises questions about how people are consuming news content. Most of us around the world are basically getting news via images and links and from friends on social media. And essentially, that's the issue, because even accounts that are run by established news organizations have to follow the guidelines of social media platforms. So if you're on Facebook, you have to follow their guidelines. I don't think Twitter has guidelines anymore, but if they did, you'd have to follow them. LinkedIn, etc., etc. And so stories published on news organization websites are held to a different standard, meaning they could potentially be more accurate, actual pictures of Rafah. And so if we are looking at AI generated images, that is obviously a very horrible thing. If you're looking at the horrible wars or the horrors of war in a war zone, and you've got an AI image that makes it look like, oh, well, there's now flowers sprouting somewhere, some symbolic thing, you may have a different image of what's actually going on, of where that is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the news always gets it right, don't get me wrong, but if we are intentionally creating images that are supposed to reflect, let's say, one political aspect or one thought process or another in the area, then obviously that's an issue. Imagine an AI generated image of Rafah, of the people there, murdering innocents, or imagine all of them starving when they're not, and those kinds of things. What you're talking about is hyperbolic imagery that can quickly be generated by artificial intelligence and give everybody the wrong impression. So nope, not a fan of this whatsoever. I would rather see the actual pictures of the actual conditions of Rafah, good, bad, or ugly, because that's how we make informed decisions. We consume news properly when we do that, and that's the way I think it should be. So this is another issue that I think artificial intelligence is going to basically bring up for us, is that we are going to continue to lose our reality thanks to the disinformation that AI essentially drops a supercharger into. So take that for what it's worth. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private and both accurately informed. Take care.